The only one we have to be concerned about is violence is you, Mr. President. Send the National Guard to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And now I'll bring back our governor for questions, Governor JB Pritzker.
Happy to take any questions from members of the media. Mary Ann.
Have the authority to send it?
Well, that's going to be litigated. Does Donald Trump have the legal authority? It's unconstitutional. It's against the law. We talked about posse comitatus. There is no reason why American military can be or should be in American cities when there is not an insurrection. They are required, members of the Illinois National Guard are members of the military. And when they are called up according to Title 10 by the President of the United States, they are required to follow orders, just as they are when the governor calls them up under Title 32. Well, that's got to be determined. I exactly agree with the point that you're making. Yes. I'm sorry. Maybe I can ask the Attorney General to talk about his work.
We don't know exactly the exact circumstances in which the deployment would take place. So a preemptive lawsuit couldn't be targeted to a specific targeting of the military. So we don't anticipate that, but we don't rule it out. I don't have a comment on that right now. Thank you. No comment on that right now, Isabel.
Thank you for that question. The way we address the fear is that we stand firm together. That's why you have this full display today, that we are going to have the backs of working people across this city, and that any attempt to intimidate our people from being able to live their lives, that is the quintessential example of terrorism. And we will not bend, break, or bow to that type of tyranny. So we're going to continue to make sure that the people of Chicago know their rights, and business, philanthropic, labor, elected leaders, faith leaders. We're all going to put our arms around every single resident of this city to ensure that our way of life is not disrupted.
Shia. Well, I think they'll hear exactly what I said today about whether we want them in the city of Chicago. We do not want troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. Let me be clear. And if he calls me, I will tell him that directly. It simply means that people who are breaking the law, who are acting in unconstitutional fashion, will be held accountable, must be held accountable. Yes. Look, every single person that is the victim of violence in any city across the entire United States is worthy of our sympathy and also worthy of having law enforcement go after the perpetrators. That is what we do in the city of Chicago. That is what we do in the state of Illinois. We will not give up on that. And we will stand up for the people of the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago by following the law.
I got you. I can speak for Chicagoans. Look, Chicagoans are not asking for a militarized force to occupy our city. They're not asking for that. I can tell you what Chicagoans are asking for. They want us to build more affordable housing. They want us to invest more in young people. They want us to ensure that we're creating mental and behavioral health care services. And do you know how I know that's what they want? It's because that's what's working. There's a 32% reduction in homicides. That's not an easy feat to accomplish. And we're doing that collectively. Chicagoans, here's what Chicagoans want. We want a reimbursement from our tax dollars that we send to the federal government, to send it right back to the city of Chicago to ensure that we build safe and affordable communities. That's exactly what they want. Go ahead.
Why the fake backdrop for public safety when not equal? Why not equal? Why not being the equal unable violence and crime is happening? Can you answer that?
Look, as we said before, protecting our First Amendment is the top priority of our democracy. And so, of course, we want people to raise and elevate their voices, but they have to do it in a very peaceful way. Let me be very clear here. The Trump administration, they are trying to incite and provoke violence. And so that's why you're seeing a very coordinated, disciplined response in this moment. Look, there's no secret that the city of Chicago has been on the front line fighting for justice, not just for Chicago, but for folks across this country. This is the city that said, keep hope alive. This is the city that birthed, yes, we can. And so we know how to resist, we know how to raise our voices, we know how to do that in a constitutional way, and that's what we're calling for. Thank you.
There is not an emergency in the city of Chicago. There is nothing that calls for having troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. We have crime like other cities do, but let's be clear. We are actually in better shape than the 30 biggest cities across the United States. We're in better shape on average, and it is important to recognize that the President of the United States is doing this for theatrics. This is not because we've asked for it. It is not because there is some justice that he is going to seek. It is because he wants to create chaos. That is all this is about. I'm sorry, I need to call it on somebody new. Yeah. Well, one thing that we're trying to make clear to the entire United States is that this is a great city. Look at how beautiful this city is. This city is moving in the right direction on crime. That we have been, in fact, over the last 4 years, we have seen homicides drop in half. And that is something that the President of the United States should pay attention to. I know he doesn't read. I know he doesn't listen to very many people, but I know he watches television. And so perhaps if somebody from Fox News or from Newsmax is here, they'll cover the fact that Chicago is in much better shape as a result of the work that we are doing to prevent crime, to interrupt crime, to reduce crime, to increase the number of police. Our state police are up during my time in office. I want the president to understand that we do not want troops on the ground in the city of Chicago. Neither do the people of Chicago or the people of the state. Yes, ma'am. Well, the Chicago Police Department has its job to do. The troops, if they are federalized, will be limited by what federal troops can do. So those are the rules. They're not supposed to be doing crime fighting. They're not supposed to be involved in anything other than what federal troops are supposed to do. They can guard federal buildings. They can do the work of, as called upon to, perhaps sit outside the city of Chicago, but not to fight crime in the city of Chicago. Upon to, perhaps sit outside the city of Chicago, but not to fight crime in the city of Chicago. That is not what they're supposed to be doing. Yes, Jason, sorry.
So the police department is under the direction of my leadership, my superintendent, Superintendent Snelling. We have our own autonomy in terms of how we protect this city. As the governor has articulated, federal troops are not police officers. They don't have that authority or that power. So the very thing in which the president is claiming he wants them to do, they don't have the authority to do that. Look, here's the other thing that's important. Our local law enforcement cooperates with federal agents on a host of things, one of which is getting illegal guns off the streets of Chicago. Just a couple of weeks ago, we seized over 150 guns that were trafficked in from Mississippi and Indiana. That's the type of coordination that we have to continue to do to drive safe and affordable neighborhoods. Thank you all very much.
Sure. I'm sorry, I know you were looking to ask a question. If we needed them to call in troops or we needed to have the National Guard federalized, we would call them. We are not calling them. We do not need that.
This is going to be the last question.
Well, look, we're going to use every single tool at our disposal. Here's the most important thing to note today. Is that you have complete alignment across the entire city of Chicago, that the city of Chicago firmly rejects militarized forces occupying our city. It is uncoordinated, uncalled for, and unsound. The best way to build safe and affordable communities, not just in Chicago, but across this country, is to invest in them. The safest cities in America invest in people, and that's exactly what we're doing. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.